everyone. Welcome to episode 7 of the Memory Box. As you can see, our host, is not here today. Don't worry, he's all well and good. He's just unavailable. So anyway, let's kick it off. I'm joined by a good friend of mine and K&R. Here's Craig Watkins. All right, Craig.
Hi everyone. Everyone okay?
Hope you're well, mate. How are you finding isolation?
Boring. Just trying to keep fit. Still working though, so I'm still working from home. So in front of a computer, even though I'm a football coach, but just keep going. At least it's got something to keep my mind active.
Yeah, that's it. Same as here, mate. Just trying to get out, trying to stay motivated to go and do some exercise and get work done as well. So obviously I know that. So a little introduction for people who are obviously watching, just give them a brief background on obviously what you're doing now, and obviously we'll get to you being a professional footballer in a little while.
Cool. Well, at the moment I'm a head of an area manager of Chelsea in the community, which I oversee a big part of Surrey. So that's everything from our elite centres to our pre-development centres, and then really all the work we do at the schools. I'm also involved with the under-15s, with the elite team, the top boys that we've got under 15s at Chelsea that train at the training ground on Wednesday nights. So that's probably me in a nutshell at the moment. Bit of admin and then back out on the grass quite a lot where I like to be.
So I know that you've seen us setting out challenges for all our kids and anyone that wants to obviously stay active at home. I know that you're doing sort of the same sort of stuff for the Chelsea kids, aren't you? Like the virtual lessons.
Yeah. So again, our pre-development centres and our elite centres, we're putting on Zoom calls like this with a demonstrator. So a coach is demonstrating all things you can do outdoors, indoors. So we're working on sort of like ball mastery, ball control, dribbling, turning, passing, even though the passing one's a bit difficult in case you ain't got a wall or you can't kick the ball against anything. So you can't really pass and receive unless they've got a brother or sister or a mum and dad that's going to pass the ball into them. But that's not everyone. So yeah, we're just doing loads of different things and just trying to keep everyone active, trying to keep the ball at their feet and getting as many touches as they can in sort of a half an hour period, really.
Decent. Yeah, that's similar. Like I said, similar to sort of stuff that we've been sending out, as you know. So it's good to know that we're trying to do stuff that the professional clubs are doing as well, which is good. Yeah. So let's just go sort of before you started coaching, and sort of when you're a bit about like your background in playing, so you're like playing history. So let's start off with like your first memories of how you got into football, obviously as a youngster.
Well, I'm a bit old now, I might not be able to remember that far back.
I'm glad to have someone. I think you're the first person we're doing the memory box with that's older than me, so I'm quite glad.
Put my age out there and that. Do you know what I mean? The first probably memories I have is probably going over to old Cannons in Mitcham, and Wimbledon used to do their soccer schools there. So for all the youngsters, it's not AFC Wimbledon, it's the proper Wimbledon before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they used to do their soccer schools there, and my mum used to take me sort of every half term, and I used to go there, and then we used to get tickets and go down to Selhurst Park when they used to ground share with Palace and go and watch a game down there. So that's probably my earliest memories of starting to play football, really.
Yeah, brilliant. I remember obviously that's with me growing up when I was playing for Palace at academy level, when we used to play against Wimbledon before they split into obviously MK and AFC. So yeah, I know what you mean, and some of our youngsters won't remember the real Wimbledon, definitely, and probably some of our younger parents won't remember the real Wimbledon if you, when obviously the split. Shows how old we are.
Exactly. And
so yeah, obviously those were your first your first memories going into getting involved in football, and then sort of obviously me and you being good mates. I know obviously your playing history, but if you could just go through it from you turning professional and then coming into the semi-professional game where we met, and then yeah, we'll lead on to you getting into coaching from there.
So if we take it back to probably where football started getting quite serious for me, is at 9 years old, I actually trialled at Chelsea, and I was on trial for quite a period of time, and I wasn't getting offered a contract. I just kept on getting put on another week's trial. Everyone else was getting offered deals apart from me, and I played for Merton Borough one Saturday or one Sunday, whatever it was, and an Arsenal scout come up to my dad after the game and said, "We want you to sign." And I said, "Well, no, I'm at Chelsea, sort of, I want to see where it goes." And he said, "No, we don't even want you to trial. I want to give you a 2-year deal straight away." So at 10 years old, I signed for Arsenal, and I was there for a good 4 or 5 years. And due to just a bit of an injury and that, I got let go, which was upsetting. People from my school played for Arsenal and stuff like that, so I had quite good friends there. So yeah, after I recovered from my injury, I went straight into men's football, and I trialled at Sutton United at 18, just past 18. Thought I was just going to be a reserve team player because I knew my friend played in the reserves and the first team there. And from there, I just went straight into the first team. Went straight into the first team at 18. It was the first year that they made the Conference South at Sutton. So one up from the Ryman Prem. And I was top goal scorer in the first year. Ended up getting a move to Exeter at the end of the start of the following year. So the start of the following season. So just turned 19. Ended up signing a 2-year professional deal at Exeter. So had to move away from my family, had to move by myself, had to live in digs, had to live with people that obviously had played football for a long time. They've got a load of league appearances, and there was little old me coming from non-league, only played 1 year of men's football.
How did you find that? Sorry, how did you find that? Obviously, leaving home at 19 years of age, 20 years of age, moving up, like you said, somewhere where you didn't know anyone. I imagine that it made you grow up a lot quicker than probably would have had to if you were still living at home.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm a city boy. I'm a London boy. Always have been, and so to move to Devon was a massive culture shock. I mean, I went there during pre-season to Exeter to just see about the place and have a couple of training sessions with the boys. And it was a year after they got Man United in the FA Cup, so they went to Old Trafford and drew 0-0 and got Man United back in the replay at St James's Park. So when I travelled up there, it had all the Man United memorabilia everywhere, like pictures around the training ground. The training ground was lovely. The stadium was massive. They get about 7,000 fans every week. So I went there. I didn't really think of the culture until I got there.
Yeah.
And after I went there and scored on my debut. So for the first couple of months, I was on cloud 9. I was the new boy. I was doing well. But then you soon realise that you're so far away when things start to go wrong a little bit, when you're out of the team and you're travelling to really far places that you're not used to, and not getting off the bench or going to a really far place and sitting in the stand. It's hard because then you go back to your digs and you're living with people that have played 90 minutes and they're talking about the game, and you're just sitting there thinking, I haven't done anything. You don't really feel a part of it. So when it comes to that, it was really difficult because I didn't really have my mates around me, my family around me to fall back on. So yeah, it was just one of those ones where, a little bit like now, a little bit in isolation. You feel like you're isolated and you feel like you're locked away and you can't go anywhere. So yeah, it did make you grow up. It made you work harder because you wanted to be part of that team environment. You wanted to feel like you're part of the team. And in training as well, when you're a youngster and you go into a first team environment, they look at you as a youngster, but you want to be known as a good footballer. not just a young player coming through. And if you feel like you've got ability and you feel like you should be playing, the only way that you need to tell the manager and tell your teammates is to perform out on the training pitch, really, and gain your respect that way.
Yeah, so obviously being up there by yourself and not being in the I imagine that it was probably some lonely times for you up there. How did mentally, obviously with everything going on at the moment, mental health is a big deal, and obviously one of our partners is Mind, the mental health charity, and obviously we do as much as we can, but again, for our young players who might end up experiencing this, sort of what would you say to them in terms of how you got through that? And I think you just touched on it. Obviously, what you've done on the training pitch and the match day pitch to make sure that you didn't have those lonely moments. But what would you sort of suggest for them, if obviously for them to, if they experience that in their career later on?
It's one of them where you can't get too downbeat about it. You're obviously not in the team or for a reason at the end of the day. If you've got a manager, which I didn't have at the time, that you could feel like you could knock on his door and ask a question, that's when you've got to stay headstrong. And that is where you've got to train 100%. And if you're lucky enough to be in a first team environment, you try and do double sessions, you try and stay after training and do that little bit extra. Unfortunately, I never had that support at Exeter. I didn't feel like I could knock on that manager's door without it being an argument. So it was one of those where I finished training, and we finished training at 11:30 in the morning. We started at 10. We only used to train for an hour and a half. Finished training at 11:30, and we was out of the training ground by 12. So it was hard. You got the first team players that are on quite a lot of money, and they went to the casino. And did you go down that route, or did you go home and feel isolated? I went down the route of trying to stay behind. So I trained with the YTS boys, which now are like the youth team boys because YTS doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So I used to stay and do double sessions, and I used to stay and do double sessions. I never used to drive at the time. And then I used to get a cab back to my digs. So basically, I used to pay money to stay and train afterwards. One, because I didn't want to get embroiled in that gambling lifestyle. And two, I wanted to be better. I wanted to show the management, and I wanted to show everyone at the football club that I was serious about my job. I'm serious about my craft. So anyone that's going through that, I would advise you just to speak up as well. If you're unhappy and you feel like you're doing everything you possibly can, but you're getting no luck and you're not getting any minutes on the pitch, talk to someone, talk to the manager, talk to the assistant manager, because your assistant manager is always more of a friend than your actual gaffer. Nowadays, there's a lot of people at football clubs that can look after you. So speak to who you need to speak to if you need to get something off your chest. Don't have it bubbled up inside, because otherwise it will just affect your performances on the pitch, and then you're never going to get minutes on the pitch. You always find yourself being a sub, or unfortunately being in the stand.
Yeah, spot on. Especially, I think the biggest thing what you said about speaking to someone, whether it's a teammate, whether it's the manager, whether it's a coach, whether it's the physio, whether it, like you said, nowadays at football clubs, all of this is so much more advanced than when obviously yourself was a professional many years ago. So there is those allocated people, or there's just many more people that anyone can talk to. So no, spot on, mate. And then obviously after Exeter, just tell sort of where did you go then?
So if I'm being completely honest, after Exeter, because I was on a decent bit of money and I had some responsibilities now, I was too busy looking for a full-time club again. But Havant and Waterlooville rung me up, and they told me money wasn't an option. So
we all like to hear that.
When you hear that, and bearing in mind, I ended up walking out of my Exeter deal. I was that unhappy there. I ended up leaving by mutual consent, sort of 8 months early. When someone tells you that, and you can't knock it, sometimes you have to listen to sort of the money.
I'm glad. So I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people think, especially with youngsters these days, or even semi-pro footballers, I've had it before in my career that people think that you chase the money, but whether you're professional or if someone's willing to pay you a substantial amount and obviously it fits for you, then why would you not go there? Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's your well-being, it's your life. I was watching Sky Sports the other day and Roy Keane was saying that like professional players shouldn't be asked or shouldn't have to take a pay cut for obviously and give to their clubs. And it's a tricky one because obviously those professionals have got mortgages, have got high bill rates for whatever, and got low like car deals and stuff like that going on. So to say to anyone, even in our like as a coach, if to take a pay cut or give something, it's hard because you don't know everyone's situation and individual situation. But yeah, like for you obviously to go to Havant and for them to say that, like most professionals, they were, well, we know it, obviously we'll get to Sutton later on, but that was sort of similar there for us for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I went to Havant and spent a good sort of 4 years there, if you want to say. Made the 4th round of the FA Cup, made the 1st round and 2nd round maybe every year I was there. I don't think we got knocked out other than the 1st round. So we played Liverpool away in the 4th round, which is always good.
I'm glad you mentioned that because on my on episode 1, when I done my own memory box, I mentioned you and said, obviously as you know, I'm a Liverpool fan, and I was saying that I brought you up about you playing there and against like Luis Garcia and players like that. So I know we're going to go off subject a little bit, but it's all part of your playing career. Sort of, how was that experience for you? And obviously later on, I'm going to ask you about your 3 most memorable games. Obviously, playing or watching. So,
I think that day will forever live in my memory. I mean, I know people have had great FA Cup runs and non-league clubs have had great FA Cup runs, and even yourself, you've got people down to your place, but you've been at home and not been able to play away at big grounds. But to go to Anfield, mate, they've got the best fans in the Premiership. I mean, I'm an Arsenal fan, but it was incredible. We got police escort to the ground. It was a flag day as well, so they had all the flags in the Kop end. Yeah, it was something different.
Yeah. I can only obviously, I was speaking about the Champions League or even just a normal game, and I've been Anfield only a handful of times, and every time I've been there, it's like goosebumps as soon as you hear "You'll Never Walk" or teams are coming out.
Hear it, mate. In the tunnel, it just echoed. Well, the old tunnel as it is now. It just echoed through, and even everyone when they went out, they touched the "This is Anfield" sign, and people in the team were welling up, and that because it is just so loud. Like, you don't realise how loud it is until you're literally underneath the stand, like ready to go out. So yeah, no, it's a great feeling, and from that day on, I've had a different love for Liverpool since.
Yeah. Some obviously experiences like that just live on. Obviously, like you said, I'm sure loads of people have had, and to be fair, I'll take back what I was just about to say. I was going to say loads of people have experienced highs, but not many people have. Football's so ruthless, and you don't get those opportunities. I've never been to obviously play at a Premiership club as a first team player. Obviously in my youth team days I have, but I've never experienced that. Yeah, the obviously the most I've ever done is played at League 2 or whatever, or even like you said through the FA Cup and playing big like league teams at home. So yeah, mate, you can count yourself very lucky, especially going to somewhere like Anfield.
And it was a full house as well, 42,000. So it wasn't even like we was a non-league club. People never turn up like you get in some cases. Literally, 42,000 sellout. So yeah, it was just like a Premier League match.
So obviously, still being away from, obviously, I imagine that you moved back down in London when you went to Havant, obviously travelling up to Portsmouth, but still travelling a fair bit to play football. And obviously, we spoke about the money that them saying to you about money was an issue, which is a bonus, but you're the be all and end all. You're doing it because you love football, and that's, I mentioned it in my episode. It's even me now coming up to 30s of age. I'm still playing, yes, because the money helps alongside your full-time job, but because I still love playing. And I think that's the big thing that people have got to realise. People bang on about the money, but football's so ruthless, and especially being semi-professional, you go to work during the day and then you got to go and train or play of an evening. It's hard work. People don't realise how hard it is.
No, not at all. And I always say, and I say to the younger kids now, and they look at sort of the players' cars in the car park at Chelsea and wherever I've been, and people have got nice cars, and the youngsters are like, I want that, I want that. I said, you don't play football for the money when you're growing up. I didn't start running around in Mitcham kicking a football around because I wanted a nice car, or I wanted a nice house. Do you know what I mean? I watch football, and in every boy grows up wanting to be a footballer.
Yeah.
It's not growing up to earn money. It's growing up because everyone loves the sport. So if you're fortunate enough, the money will eventually come. But it's the last thing you think about, really, when you're going through the motions. I mean, even when you're in a youth team, in an academy or anything like that, you want to get in the first team. It don't matter if the first team gets paid or not. Your goal is to get to the first team.
Yeah.
You're fortunate enough if the money comes after that. If the money comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. At the end of the day, but you'll still love playing football. Everyone has their highs, everyone has their lows, good games, bad games, or whatever. But like you said, you come away, and at the end of the day, you still love football. So that's the main aspect, I would say, of why everyone plays it.
And that's the thing. If you do have that literally love for the game, and obviously you don't quite get there as a professional like myself, you can still earn, not saying this part is myself, but you can still earn a decent amount of money through semi-professional football. Obviously, if you're lucky enough to go to a club that do have them funds available, like obviously you mentioned having, when we were at Sutton for a little while, those funds were available there as well. And I say it to youngsters all the time: aim to be a professional, but if you don't get there, don't just or sack it off or give up. I have some 18-year-olds, as you know, from my under 18s last year, who are now, some of them are at Sutton in the under 19s, under 23s, and going through the semi-pro route. And I'm glad that they haven't given up, because, like you can earn a good amount from semi-pro alongside your full-time wage. And some people at our level, as even when we were at Sutton, some people are earning money that can be their full-time wage, and they don't have to work, and they're probably earning more than some professionals in the lower leagues.
100%. And also, being in non-league, it makes you appreciate football a lot more. You learn how to rough it. You learn how to slum it. You know how to be in the hot showers or the cold showers and the small changing rooms, the horrible pitches, travelling by yourself, not a coach available, sort of, to games and stuff like that, car sharing. You learn a lot about yourself through non-league. If you start at the top, and we've both seen it, if you start at the top, it's hard to come down.
Yeah.
But it's to work your way back up, sort of thing, because people that get all of that very early, they can't deal when they have to drop down and go on loan to lower league sides or non-league sides. And they can't deal with the physicality of it. They can't deal with, like I said, the muddy pitches, how quick the game is, that you get no time on the football. So non-league teaches you a hell of a lot. And this is why more and more clubs now are looking for non-league players to get, rather than academy players. Because when you get them from a non-league club, they're sort of ready-made. Yeah. They're ready-made to put that rawness into a first-team environment, and they'll just tweak you to be a professional.
Yeah, well, we've seen it, obviously, with especially me in my later years, when loan players come from the professional clubs and they just can't hack it. They're academy boys, and they come out of academy football. It's all nice and pretty, and obviously it's physical, but not as physical as non-league. And yeah, some players just can't cope. And like you said, you're seeing more and more players now going from non-league to the professional game. So So yeah, it's definitely something for obviously the youngsters watching or anyone watching. If you're playing semi-professional or if you've just been let go by a pro club, don't give up. Football's a matter of opinions. You could go to listen, if you're good enough, I'm a big believer, if you're good enough, you'll get there where you should be. With a little bit of luck, obviously, but dedication and hard work and the right attitude, you'll get there. So, but anyway, moving on, mate. I'm just weary of the time. So obviously after Havant, talk us through what happened then.
What happened to Avon? Oh, sort of a bad thing happened. They offered me a new contract, but I was under 24, so they held a thing called a Bosman, so they could require a fee from me for any club that I wanted to move on to. But they all they had to do is offer me a new contract. They offered me £5 extra a week just to activate the Bosman clause. I went to Colchester on trial. That was League One. Done really, really well. Probably the best football I've ever played that week. They wanted to take me away on the pre-season tour, so they spoke to Havant. Havant had already agreed a fee with me and my agent that they'll probably take between 5 and 10 grand for me. That was their compensation. As soon as Colchester rung them up, we went up to 50 grand. We can easily say that move fell through. So I left there and ended up signing for Woking. I left Havant, ended up signing for Woking, done well there. But again, like we were saying earlier about pay cuts, the recession hit then, and yeah, I was one of the better earners there, and they said I would need to take a pay cut or leave. So luckily enough, I knew the manager at Hayes and Yedding, which was a league above. They were actually in the conference national at the time. So I gave him a call, and he said, "Yeah, I'd love for you to come down." So I ended up getting the same money I was getting, but I jumped up a league. And now I was playing good teams, like when Oxford was still in the conference, Luton was still in the conference. So AFC Wimbledon, then we're in the conference doing well. So you was playing against some big sides in the conference. So I ended up jumping up a league and basically playing professional football again, but in a part-time environment. Since then I went back to Sutton. Oh, in between that, when I left there, I broke my leg. Broke my leg at Hayes and Yedding. The year after that, I signed for Met Police just to make sure my leg was okay, and I didn't want to travel up and down the country. So I left Hayes and Yedding, signed for Met Police. Ended up scoring 30, 35, I think, that season. We ended up winning the league as well, and then went to Marbella and met Mac does on the strip and done my Sutton deal. And that's the rest is history.
Yeah, I remember. Obviously, we didn't know each other then, but I remember bumping into you in Marbella, and then obviously you come to Sutton not long after, and that's then obviously when ourselves met and become good friends from there, and great times at Sutton. Obviously, we had just you come to us when we just won the league, right?
Yeah.
So we had just won the Ryman Premier, and then obviously we went to Mob, and then yeah, you come after that when we were in the Conference South, and then obviously you outstayed me there. I can't remember what age I was when I left there, but spent some great times there. Loved Sutton United, obviously back there coaching as well now. So yeah, no, lovely club, proper family club. Got to know everyone. Obviously, I'm sure you'll agree that everyone made you feel welcome, and obviously with the management and the players.
Yeah, even now, I absolutely love that club. I mean, that's where I signed. That's my first men's football club, and I always say that club is like home to me. And the fans have always been good to me. Best fans I've ever played in front of, Sutton fans. Very, very loyal, very humble fans as well. Yeah, love the club to bits.
Yeah, that was my first, obviously, experience of just come out of Millwall. I played a couple of first team games for Croydon in between coming over to Sutton, and I played for the youth team, and then obviously progressed into the first team. And yeah, to come into the first team at such a young age, and obviously with the players around me that, like yourself, ex-professionals, and there was obviously many others. it was such a good experience. But like you placed that like close, you got a spot for him in your heart. So
Yeah.
So anyway, mate, obviously that's about your playing career. Before we move on to obviously the Darren Bent Academy and obviously you getting into Chelsea, just what player would you say, obviously growing up, really stood out for you as someone that maybe your role model, or a player that just influenced you to go on and obviously play the way you played?
Bit of a weird one. I got two. Bit of a weird one. My first guy that I really looked up to was Paul Ince. I couldn't tell you why. I just loved the way he played. I loved his aggression. I loved how everyone just called him the governor. That means he was just like, everyone just looked up to him, and he was a boss, and he showed it on the football pitch. He didn't care. He would score goals. He would rat around. He would tackle. He was good on the football. For me, he was just an all-round football player. That's what I loved about him. When I went over to Arsenal, it was probably an easy one at that time, and you look at Ian Wright, and you can't look past that guy. What he done at Arsenal was an absolute joke, and what a nice person. People still see it now on the TV.
Yeah.
And he could score every type of goal. He'd score from outside the box, right foot, left foot. He could score a little dink. He could score headers, one-on-one. He was absolutely rapid. He could link play up. And yeah, so them two for me were probably the ones that really got me to absolutely love football. And to be fair, Ian Wright made me love Arsenal.
Yeah, what a great story about Ian Wright, obviously being turned away and playing not even semi-pro football, grassroots football on a Sunday, and getting picked up and straight to obviously becoming a professional footballer at Palace and stuff. So it's a great story behind him, and yeah, he's I think he's probably one of the most likable professional footballers out there. Everyone loves him. He makes everyone laugh. Yesterday I was watching over the weekend I was watching Match of the Day, and he was doing his 10 most bonkers moments, and he's just laughing the whole time, and he's just so, his aura, do you know what I mean? He just can't help but make you smile as well.
And I used to clean his boots when you was a ball boy and stuff like that. You used to go into the Highbury dressing rooms, and you have to clean his boots, sort of Ray Parlour's boots, and stuff like that after a game. So yeah, I was fortunate enough to have a few run-ins with him when I was really young over there.
Oh, brilliant. And then yeah, just again moving on just to your three most memorable games. Now that might be, like I mentioned earlier, you playing yourself or just watching.
I would probably say my most memorable game would probably be my professional debut. Probably when I signed for Exeter. I signed for Exeter on a Friday morning. We was playing away at Accrington Stanley. I signed on the Friday morning. I got the train up to Liverpool, so I left with all my bags. Went up to Liverpool. Met the team at the hotel. Luckily enough, I knew most of them from the time I went up there in the pre-season. We was 1-0 down at Accrington. Both teams were unbeaten in the season so far. It's fourth game in, and come on, scored with me being on the pitch for about 5 minutes. Scored, made it 1-1. Then I set up the winner, and I hit the bar as well. So it was major for me. First time I saw my name on the back of my shirt, which was why I wanted to be a professional footballer. I just wanted to go into a change room and see my name on the back of my shirt, knowing it was mine. No one else was going to wear it. So that would be my number one. The second game, it has to be the Havant Liverpool game. Just an unbelievable experience, like I mentioned earlier. Felt like an absolute pro like a proper professional footballer for the day. And even leading up to the game, we was getting free spa treatments, this and that. We was in the sun. We was holding the FA Cup. You know, it was bonkers. But yeah, that day, like I said, 42,000 flag day at Anfield, singing their hearts out. And to be honest, to go 1-0 up and 2-1 up at Anfield, shooting at the cop end ain't bad.
Yeah.
And
Panic stations.
but Anfield gave us a round of applause. We had to do a lap of Anfield after the game. And they stayed, and Rafa Benitez come in the change room afterwards and congratulated us, and we were brilliant. I got Torres' shirt, which was his first season in the Premier League, which was absolutely on flames. So I got his shirt. So yeah, that runs a close second. The third would probably be my Arsenal debut, to be fair. When I was 10, we played in a cup game called the Junior Floodlit Cup. I played it on Highbury against West Ham. So yeah, sort of three good memories of playing from real young to as I got older.
So obviously those are free playing games that you've played in. What about just one sort of game that you might have seen live, or for whatever reason really stands out? It might not be an Arsenal game.
I've seen so many games. To be fair, actually, do you know what? I haven't actually watched that many games live because we played, so you don't really get to see.
It, yeah.
The one game that obviously sticks in my mind from watching it on the TV was Liverpool versus Newcastle, when I think Liverpool won 4-3, and Collymore scored right at the end. Stan Collymore scored right at the end to make it 4-3 to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Egan drops his head at the end. I mean, that game had everything. So yeah, I think that game there is an iconic game for anyone sort of my age and maybe a little bit older. All the youngsters, I go on YouTube and watch the goals from that game because it was just end to end. Like, it was absolutely manic. 90 minutes of football that was just crazy, and two teams battling at the top of the league as well. Yeah, I think that's probably one game that just sticks in my mind of watching, really.
And what about one goal again, either live or just what you've seen? Is just maybe you've just taken something from it, or it's just been like, wow.
This is going to shock like quite a few people, and not many people might not remember it. But it was only last year. Lucky enough, one of my mates is a commentator on Sky Sports, and he done the Derby versus Man United game in the Carabao Cup, I think it was, or something like that. And it was a great game of football, end to end. Man United was winning, then Derby come back, and then Harry Wilson hit this free kick from about 45 yards, and it just swerved everywhere and went in absolutely top bins. Do you remember it?
I didn't see that game. No, I remember obviously speaking to you and you saying about it when you went. I remember the game vaguely. I remember it in terms of like Derby were on top of Man U.
Yeah, but it was at Old Trafford, and it went to penalties.
Yeah, that's right.
Penalties, a free kick. Oh my goodness! It's the best thing I've ever seen live. Obviously, you see loads of great goals on the TV, but it's different when it's live. And I was sitting in the Man United end as well, and literally for something like that to stun
Just
Old
give it
Trafford.
one.
I didn't even know if it went in or what. It was that much in the top bins. I mean, and then seeing it on the replay, it just swerved absolutely everywhere. But that year in the Championship, he hit about 6 or 7 free kicks like that, and even for Bournemouth, he's hit a couple in the Prem.
Yeah,
so, that would be
player.
Let's go. I've probably seen live.
Decent. And then, obviously, you spoke about your playing career. I mentioned earlier that you were living up Birmingham for a little while, and you started Darren Bent Academy. Obviously, the name says who you're. Obviously, one of your best mates is Darren Bent, and you two obviously collaborated and started an academy up there. Just talk. I know it's sort of similar to what I'm doing with K&R, but just sort of how did you get into that? Obviously.
Well, I was lucky enough that I coached for Pro Direct Soccer Academy in London before I made the move to Birmingham, and I was a head coach there and done really well there coaching. And when I moved, Pro Direct approached me and sort of wanted me to open up a franchise of my own in Birmingham. They didn't have one in Birmingham at the time. But to be honest, I wasn't even thinking about opening my own business. I went up there and I got a job, a sports coordinator role, and I was quite happy until they approached me about it. And then me and Darren sat down, and Darren sort of said, "Well, why don't we do it?" Sort of thing. Me knowing that I couldn't have just started up a football academy by myself, because I didn't know Birmingham as an area. I didn't know where the good places were, the not so good places were. And I didn't know about the quality up there. I didn't know about football leagues up there or anything. And he said, "Well, how about you use my name and we brand it as my academy, and it's going to get you some good players there." Darren obviously having a great name in Birmingham for his time at Villa. And to be fair, just his time as a footballer in general.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we went with it. We didn't know what we was going to get. We started out very small, just wanted to do your soccer camps and your half-term camps and see what happened. And eventually it evolved into we got some really good players that come through the door, and we was like, we don't want to let these players go. Like we want to be responsible for these kids. So we ended up making two elite teams at an under 16 level and an under 13 level, because those were the best kids we had at those age groups. And yeah, the first season, the under 16s won their county cup. The under 13s that are now the under 15s have really grown. We've had a few boys that go in at Villa. One's going on trial at Walsall when all this returns. We've had a few that's gone over to Coventry on trial. A few that's gone to Northampton. And now we've got the under 11s, and even a couple of them have gone here, there, like again at Walsall, Villa. You find that there's a lot of clubs around in the Midlands. So if you're doing well and you get a little bit of a name, and lucky enough we've got Darren's name and reputation, so he can put in a favour from a scout to come and watch a game. If we've got a player that we think can make the step up, it's quite easy to get someone down. So yeah, they're doing really, really well. They're playing their elite leagues up there. So yeah, they're doing really well.
Brilliant. And I know Darren's obviously, I know you're using his name, but I know he's still quite heavily involved, and he comes down to your sessions and comes to matches quite often, doesn't he? So obviously for the players to see someone like that coming down and showing such a involvement and obviously wanting to come down and see how his players are doing just speaks volumes.
Yeah, he gets down as much as he can. Obviously, he does a lot of punditry work at the moment, but when he can, he's always down there, and he trains with the boys. He doesn't sit back and just watches. He gets involved and he trains, because that's his life, and he's doing very well in front of the camera, sitting down in his nice suits now. But if you tell him to put on a night tracksuit and a pair of boots and get out on the pitch, he's out there.
Yeah.
Sort of. That's his bread and butter. That's what he's grown up doing, and luckily enough, he's done it at the top level, playing for England. So these boys now training with him, seeing with him, joking around with him. It's not even like he's Darren to them anymore. He's like Darren Bent, sorry. It's more like he's Darren. He's a friend, sort of thing. Which is real nice to see, because they're not starstruck. He's just another person to them now, which is really nice.
And I'm sure that he'll be passing on, obviously, like we all do as coaches, our experiences and valuable advice, and some from it's obviously coming from someone like him. The players should be taking every sort of little bit of token that he offers to help their own development and their progression. Yeah,
and I mean, they ask him questions about. I ask him questions still to this day about his career, and it still wows me. I've seen his shirts in the room. I've seen him play against the top players. Do you know what I mean? I've been places where he's seen top players, your Didier Drogba's, your Thierry Henry's, and stuff like that, and they treat him so normally, and like he gets starstruck when he still meets Thierry Henry, even to this day, sort of thing. And like you listen to him and listen to his stories, and the first time that he played for England and Beckham welcomed him, because he was the England captain, and you think, oh my goodness me, he played alongside like legends of the game, sort of thing. So when he talks to the boys stand up and listen. because they're not just normal names that are just playing in the Premiership at the moment. They're England legends. They're world class footballers in their era. So yeah, he's a great tool to have
Yeah, definitely.
to expand his knowledge and what he's seen and the rights and wrongs and about football and how to conduct yourself in certain ways. Going back to our real early, about 50 minutes ago, talking about mental health, and the boys going to him and talking to him about stuff if they're not getting many minutes on the pitch, or the manager's not choosing them, or we're going through a bit of a losing streak. Like, what happens? How do you pick yourself up and go again? He's been in every situation going, and he's had 60,000 fans every week breathing down his neck, and that's proper pressure.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, then you're back down in London now. You said that you're at Chelsea now. How you obviously, I know you haven't been there too long, but how are you finding that role, and obviously how's it different compared to other things that you've been doing? Obviously, you worked in the school, like myself. I work in the school currently, and obviously you've coached at Met Police with the youth teams, like the under-18 program, and obviously you've done your Darren Bent stuff, and you coached a bit at K&R as well. Obviously, you come down and worked with my under-16s with me, specifically on the forwards. Obviously, you being a centre forward, and that, I know that our boys really like that, and I got loads out of that from you. So yeah, like how's it vary?
It's more demanding. As you can imagine, being at a top Premiership club, it's demanding, and there's nowhere to hide. My office is at Cobham at the training ground, so you're going into the training ground every day, and everyone I know that works there and that has been there for years, they don't get bored about going into work, because you're going in, you're in the training grounds. It's just a great environment to be in. But when you're there, you work, you graft, and you get down, and you have to do everything you can to sort of to keep your job and to do really well at your job and get recognised for what you're doing. There's nowhere to hide. But other than that, everyone treats you so well. Nice open door policy. You can walk into everywhere. Well, not at the moment, but you walk into anywhere. The academy building, the first team building, anywhere you want to go, you can walk into, and everyone treats you with the same respect, which is really nice. And then what's really good is that you can just drop in and watch sessions, sort of thing. So you might get to go and watch the under-23s train. If you're lucky enough, you can go and watch the first team train if that's okay, and get okay to do that. Again, with the women's as well, we might have girls that watching it. The women's team at Chelsea, they're unbelievable. You go and watch them train, and they probably train harder than the first team, and they're really at it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I had two girls since I've been that have moved. No, sorry, two girls that have moved on to Chelsea, or in the younger teams at obviously at Chelsea, and another one now at Wimbledon. And that's so one of the things that when I first started in schools, as you know, over 10 years ago, that's one of the first thing that I started. I started a girls' league because there wasn't one, and it's still running now, even though I'm not working in that specific area where that school was. The girls' league, which I'm so proud of, it has continued, and I'm so proud that I was the one to start that and get girls into football. And it's like anything, even from a male or a boy point of view, that you're a bit weary, sometimes a bit shy to get involved. But these girls, some of them have got, it's just, I got so much more satisfaction, obviously, from the girls than I did the boys when I was at that particular role in the school, just developing the girls and getting them into football. And now, obviously, the women's game and the girls' game is taking off, and rightly so.
Yeah. So yeah, being fortunate enough to do your sort of your CPD, and you learn off other coaches and watch how other people set up, and the best part of being how to become a best coach is to be a best thief and steal people's ideas and steal people's training sessions and adapt their training sessions. So what I would say that's probably one of the best things there, is that because you've got such a range of coaches and sessions to actually watch, and you can actually go and watch them, and you can be exposed to them sort of great coaching sessions. It builds you up so much better as a coach. You can even go and watch the academy games on a Sunday, and if you know one of the coaches and things like that, you can sit on the bench and see how they talk to the boys, and see how the boys' mannerisms are around them, and the respect the boys they have for the coaches as well. So it gives you great satisfaction that you can go there and implement what you take from all different coaches into your own coaching style.
Yeah, definitely, and I don't think that's obviously some people are I think one negative of some coaches is that they're so stuck in their ways, and they're not open to going and viewing other coaches, or even, like you said, stealing. And it wouldn't be a case of stealing. You just take someone's idea and you either put your own stamp on it, or you like some. It's like anything. You like something from someone, you don't like something from someone else, and you do what works for you. And like you said, put your own stamp on it, but also learn from other coaches and their experiences and the environments that they're in as well. So, on our top stuff, mate. Well, yeah, thanks for obviously coming on the memory box. Really appreciate your time. Hope you're staying safe and obviously staying active as much as you can. But last little bit, mate, just any sort of message that you've got for our young players that obviously at KNR, but all young players that are watching this, what would be the one thing from your experiences, or one key message that you would put out there for these youngsters in these sort of in this sort of era and these times?
I think number one for me, and I never had much of it when I was younger, and probably hence why I was fluttered in the professional game and come back out, is discipline. Have a lot of self-discipline and do what your coaches ask, and you might not like it at times, but it will take you a long way in the game. If you get to places on time, if you put the effort in training, you put the effort into games, and just little things. If coaches want you to go and get a ball, or pick up the cones, or get the bibs or something like that, do it. Don't screw up your face, and don't have an attitude about it, because those little things take you a long way. Me, I was a little bit different. I was a little bit more of a chatty kid. I talked back a lot. I had a chip on my shoulder. I had a little bit of an attitude, and probably why I didn't make it as far as I probably should have. A lot of people have told me easily I could have played in the champ. I could have done something more with my career, and I didn't. And that was probably because I had an attitude when I was such a young kid, and not many managers wanted to choose me, and I always thought it was someone else's fault and not mine. So take some responsibility about how you act and how you portray yourself in front of others and on the football pitch. And then when you get on the football pitch, back up your talking. So if you think you're a good player and you say you're a good player, make sure you shout on the football pitch, because that's where it matters.
Yeah, 100%. Spot on, mate. Well, yeah, like I said, thanks a lot, mate. And I'll catch up with you soon.
Cool.
Stay safe, mate.
And you, mate.